So knowing full well that I had work today, I stayed up till midnight to play a couple of hours of Star Wars Outlaws, and then I took my PlayStation Portal to work with me and played it a ton at work, pretty much all afternoon. So I'm now clocking in at about 6-ish hours in the game, so I thought I'd give you my sort of initial impressions of the game, and if you're interested in the PlayStation Portal, it only sketched out twice in like nearly 4 hours of game time, so that's not too bad. The PlayStation Portal is getting better with every update that they make. However, is Star Wars Outlaws the absolute dumpster fire that people were touting it was going to be? No, absolutely not. I think it's actually quite a good game. It does have some rough edges though, and some jank, which I will talk about. Just because I'm a fan of Star Wars and I would like the look of this game, I'm not going to ignore its shortcomings, because we all have to acknowledge them if we want things to get better. Now, generally, the game does look good. Is it the best graphics game I've ever seen? No. Is it the best in terms of animations that I've ever seen? No. And it doesn't need to be. It is what it is. Now, there are some janky animations with Kay, and sometimes when she's interacting with environments, it sometimes can glitch out. Not all the time, but it sometimes does. And there are other graphical glitches which I find absolutely hilarious when I saw them, like her eyes kept blinking yet remained open at the same time, which was terrifying. But it's not a game changer. It did take me out of it a little bit, but I'm sure it'll get patched. And there are some where the lighting goes a little bit peculiar at times in some certain spots, but that's about it really. And there are some frame drops here and there when you're going on the speeder or you're going through town centres and stuff. It's noticeable. It's not dreadful or anything, but it is definitely noticeable. Now, the Star Wars setting in the game feels great. It does genuinely feel like you are moving around inside of the Star Wars universe, which is really, really awesome. All the characters and all the different alien races, they all look absolutely spot on, and the sound effects as well are all there, and the music is really, really good. Now, Kay's movement, she doesn't feel floaty. It feels more weighted. It plays in no way like Assassin's Creed. The only thing that it could be sort of compared to it is during the stealth sections. Now, stealth is serviceable in this game. It's not. There's a lot of it because Kay is, well, she's a lady in space, basically. I don't want that to be taken as derogatory towards women, of course not. But if a great big massive Rhodian or some other alien race or a humongous man or stormtrooper goes and smashes her in the if they smashed me in the face, I'd get taken down instantaneously. So she's not a Jedi. She has no force abilities. She has no lightsaber. So she needs to kind of stay out the way as much as possible. And it all works contextually within the story and the character within the game. So if you're not a fan of stealth, you're not going to like the game at all. Now, the Crime Syndicate stuff is cool. I'm genuinely doing my best to piss off the Pikes. I'm working with the Hutts in Crimson Dawn, and you get the options to be able to screw one over for the other, even during missions. The missions can change, and people will be like, well, I'll tell you what, that thing that I initially asked you to get for this cartel, how about you give it to me and I take it to this other one and we screw them over. So it's pretty cool with that. Of course, I'm only about 6 hours in, so I'm still on the Toshar planet. So I'm still on the first big planet. Well, the first planet you start on is Cantonica, but, you know, we'll get there. Now, Nyx is awesome with all of his little gameplay mechanics, or her gameplay mechanics. I don't know. I'm just going to say he. I'm going to assume his gender. I'm going to say he. Nyx is really, really cool. There's even a little eating mini game that you can have with him where he gets to unlock new abilities and stuff like that. It's kind of like a quick time event essentially, but it's charming and it adds to the immersion of the game. And the game is quite immersive at a lot of specific points. The speeder is fun. I don't know why people are having problems with the speeder. I've had no issues. I've not hit no bumps or anything, and it handles pretty well. And the speeder, your blaster, and the ship can be upgraded, so you're finding things all over the place to steal in terms of items, sellable items, like valuables, etc., of course, and then, of course, credits that are strewn about. The gunplay is awesome. It feels very weighted, and because Kay upgrades her blaster, she's able to have it set so that you can take down droids or take down shields and that kind of stuff, but then also you can stun enemies and whatnot, and I know you do unlock more as the game progresses, so that's pretty cool. And you can also pick up enemy blasters temporarily, even sniper ones and the usual I want to say DL88 blaster. I think it is. I used to know the names because I'm that much of a nerd. But essentially, the Stormtrooper's blaster, which is pretty cool. There are collectibles to find as well, and treasures to find, which is cool. There are side quests, which are innumerable. I've hardly touched any in 6 hours of gameplay. And there are, of course, the mini games like Sabak and the arcade games and the betting on the racing. It's all very, very cool. There's points of interest found everywhere, and you can even find them by talking to random people, overhearing conversations, obviously being given clues. You can find them on the little iPad thingies that are strewn about the place. There's just so much to find, see, and do. There are no towers, as of yet, to climb and see everything. It does not feel like everyone keeps saying, oh, it's like a just typical Ubisoft game. It doesn't feel that way. It feels like it's trying to do its own thing, however, is using things done by a lot of other games before it. That makes sense? This game does nothing new. The only thing it does new is bringing all of these game tropes from other games and putting it into the Star Wars universe, which is not a bad thing. It's actually made a very good game, with some rough edges, like I said. Now, the flying out in space with the ship is really cool. I haven't done too much of it yet, but I'm really looking forward to fixing the hyperdrive, because the hyperdrives in Star Wars are always broken for some reason, and then going off out into outer space. And the dialogue and voice acting so far is pretty good, and Kay Vess as a character I genuinely like. She's not a Mary Sue. She is definitely a screw up. She hasn't got a clue what she's doing. She's in over her head and she screws up all the time, and it just all works together. She's trying to get her way through, get enough credits to get away from everything, and her backstory is unveiled through flashbacks, which for the most part at the minute are just cutscenes, thankfully. Now, the AI isn't the best for the enemies and some other of the NPCs about. Sometimes they do go a little bit weird, crazy, and do a circle. It's not the worst AI I've ever seen, but it's not Red Dead 2 level of AI either, and you will get absolutely savaged outside of cover if you're taking on the Empire. They will obliterate you very, very quickly, and that's just on normal mode. I know, right? Shocking, I'm playing a game on normal mode and not on easy. But I thought I'd put it on normal mode just to give myself a bit of a challenge, but you will get, like I said, you will get absolutely savaged straight in the face. Now, is Star Wars Outlaws the best Star Wars game I've ever played? No. But it's definitely up there within the top 10, and there has been a lot of Star Wars games, as we all know, and not all of them good. It's different from Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order in a good way. Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order are faster-paced games, more combat-orientated. Star Wars Outlaws is more exploration-orientated and utilizes different mechanics, and of course you're not a Force user. So I'm really enjoying Star Wars Outlaws, and I can't wait to continue playing it throughout the week. Of course, I will give my final verdict once I've completed the game, which should be roughly around the weekend. I'm not going to rush the game whatsoever. But is it worth picking up at full price? If you are a Star Wars fan and you can sort of bypass some slight jank, then yeah, sure, definitely. Like I said, it's not doing anything. It's not trying to be the best game in the world. It's definitely not Game of the Year. That's still held by Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. For me personally, no game has topped that this year. That game was phenomenal. Within the first hour I knew it was my Game of the Year. But then I'm biased. I'm a massive Final Fantasy VII fan, and I know that Space Marine 2 is going to be a lot of people's Game of the Year, and that's also a very excellent choice. But Star Wars Outlaws is not, for me, I don't think is going for anything supremely out there in terms of awards, but what it is, genuinely, it is a good game. There's a lot of fun in here. It's really cool. And it's just good. It's nice to have another good Star Wars game. It's a lot more open world than Star Wars Jedi Survivor, because Jedi Survivor was open-ish, but more corridor-ish. And like Coruscant, for example, there's hardly anything in the Coruscant map for Jedi Survivor. But here, especially with, is it Roshar, Toshar? I literally just started playing it. I should have wrote the name down, but just savage me in the comments, please. But the map is absolutely huge, and I have not gone over all of it, and there's a couple of settlements I've found on it so far, and that's just on the one map. I haven't even been to Tatooine yet. I haven't seen all of Cantonica, and I know there's Akiva, and there's a couple of others as well, and I can't wait. I can't wait to get to Tatooine specifically. I really want to get to Tatooine. But please let me know in the comments down below if you have checked this out in early access, and if you want my honest opinion, if you are very unsure and you do not have a lot of money, just subscribe to Ubisoft Plus for 1 month for 15 quid, and you can play it right now. And you can then cancel your subscription, play it for a month, and have done with it. I mean, for 15 quid, you can also play other games, so it's not the end of the world, really, is it? But thank you very much for watching, and like I said, let me know down below.
Out of here. No. Work, you piece of scrag. Toshara. I'll take anywhere. We're okay. We're okay.